But to score those goals, he's going to have to get past the man between the sticks for Lions FC, Luke Boreen. You can see him there. You can't miss him, not only for the beard, but the beanie as well. And, well, you might remember his name as he is the fella that made headlines a few years ago when he got married in the morning and then went to represent his side in an NPL semi-final in the evening back in 2020 with his blushing bride in tow, still wearing a wedding dress. And, well, a good thing for him, he got the win as well, making it all worth it. You can see there in the dugout, that is Ben Khan, very familiar opposition tonight. Back when he was in NPL Queensland with Olympic, he came up against Lions FC 3 times and he lost in all 3 grand finals. And Lions FC, not only that, they also knocked him out of the Australia Cup, the one time that he met them with Olympic in the national stages. Speaking to him tonight, well, he was looking forward to pretty much anybody other than Lions when the draw was made, but you can't have everything here in Australian football. He will be going up against Darren Syme, who took over for Lions once Warren Moon departed to take over the Brisbane Roar, and, well, he's kept a steady hand on the wheel, continuing to guide them to success, which included an NPL Queensland Premiership last season, as this side continues to set the standard up there in Queensland. So we should be in for an absolute cracker tonight. Thank you ever so much for joining us on the broadcast here on 10 Play. My name is Joey Lynch, and it is my absolute pleasure to be joined on the call by Melbourne City captain, the most successful Melbourne City captain in years, now retired and serving as a coach, Scott Jamieson. Scott, thanks for being here. You looking forward to tonight?
Good evening, Joey, and good evening to everyone tuning in. Super excited to be at Knights Stadium to watch this clash, and one that I think hopefully has the making of a classic here in the Australian Cup. So it's all to play out, and we're lucky enough to call it.
Indeed, well, as we prepare for kickoff tonight, it is Sean Evans, the man in the middle, decorated A-League men referee, who will not take any nonsense from either of these sides, one imagines. And, well, the game starts with a long diag from kickoff, perhaps in the Australian football tradition that goes out for a turnover. And Franjic there on the ball, the only man on the pitch tonight to have actually won the Australia Cup previously. So back with Melbourne City when it was Timmy Cahill who scored the winning goal in that encounter. Now this Knights side under Ben Khan, they will try to play football. They've undergone a bit of a rejuvenation under him. Gone from a side that, well, played physical football in the past and got amongst it, to now they lead the NPL Victoria competition in passes. That ball goes out to Albano, but he's not going to be able to keep it in. Just hammered up the pitch there by the Lions, and, well, second ball is on, and it's taken away by Ivan Ozzy. The Lions, Ben Collins putting a body on him. He's putting one back, and that's a fantastic save early on from Wiseman. A quick break and a let-off for Melbourne Knights.
That could be the key tonight for the Knights there, Joey. Aussie looking very sharp with pace and power. Ben Collins and also Joshua Phelps will have their hands full tonight, but that could be the key. Balls in behind, getting Aussie to chase him.
And here we go. Perhaps that will sting the Knights to life as they again look to build from the back. You can just see on the replay there, Aussie burning down the flank. I mean, not afraid to get amongst it. He really won the physical battle there to get the shot off. And, well, Jacob Wiseman, he is the backup for Melbourne Knights to Chris Oldfield, been forced into action after Oldfield's gone to Europe for a little bit. And, well, if there are any questions about him before from fans or those figures in the dugout, hopefully he's soothed some of those concerns for now. As Giselle spreads it across. Once again, we're going to get down the flank, looking for Sumayoro with that ball, cleared away by Lions. Central again for Giselle. One of 2 holdovers from the last time Melbourne Knights made an appearance in the national stages. Giselle alongside Albano. Anthony Giselle, of course, son of a very famous fat man here at Knights Stadium, Ivan Giselle. brother of Luke Giselle, now at Adelaide United. The Knights just look to find a way into the Lions' penalty area, and well, looking promising, but then Tommy Jarrett just putting a big boot through it and sending it out for a throw-in.
It does look like the Knights are looking just to soak up the pressure and allow, the Lions are looking to soak up the pressure and allow Knights to gain territory and then have
Barno from range, and well, he will try him from pretty much anywhere on the park, Gino Barno, but that one bounces wide. Do you think that's a wise strategy, Jamo, to just let the Knights come at you for, I mean, we've gone 3.5 minutes, so it's a long time to soak up pressure.
Well, it's a case of, I guess, them coming here and trying to soak up pressure and maybe nick one with Tozzy running in behind. But the danger of allowing teams the ball and the build-up is that they will get chances. And that's a dangerous tackle there, Joey.
It absolutely is a dangerous tackle. Sean Evans, just maybe a bit of a warning. You know, maybe you get a free one early on. Joe Duckworth making the challenge and just able to escape, jogging away with maybe a stern word. At the replay, perhaps considering himself a bit lucky there.
Usually a friendly card happy guy, kind of Sean Evans. So very surprised he's kept the cards in there.
Maybe early season form needs to knock off a bit of the rust on the whistle, if nothing else. As the Knights again look to build up. Steve White, who followed Ben Kahn down from Olympic up there in Queensland, slotting in as one of the deeper lying midfielders. The ball is now spread to Ivan Franjic, his brother Joey Franjic on the bench for the Knights. Long ball forward in the Albano direction. Players arriving in the box, and Albano, well, going for goal himself. Ball has stayed in. Sumayoro doing very well. Sumayoro now looking for an option. Knights desperately clear it away at first. Lions, still going. Long range effort over the bar. Well, over the bar and well wide from our angle in the end, but yet more early pressure, Scott.
Positive signs. Albano taking some form from his previous game, and the ball's in behind the fullbacks. Is definitely on with a compact side like the Knights. Positive signs for Ben Kahn and his team, staying on the front foot here.
Hart Phillips was looking to link up with Aussie there again, doesn't come off. So Knights dominating both possession and territory early. As Jack Morton doesn't like what he sees in front of him, goes backwards. Out now to Franjic on the right. Initial attempted ball in is blocked away by Hart Phillips. The veteran, the former Socceroo, getting back to deny him the ability to burst forward.
And that's where the Knights have to be better, Joey. Coming out of the defence and trying to release some form of pressure. You have to try and make it stick when it gets up to the halfway, and at the moment they just can't seem to do that.
Another opportunity for them now. Ben Collins, mid-season addition from Western United. Josh Phelps there in the middle, who you noted pre-game, Scott, wearing the pink boots, so he's going to have to put on a good performance.
It's always the case with the centre-backs wearing colourful boots.
Well, now foot race is on between him and Aussie, and he's just able to get there and send the ball back to Wiseman.
Once again, we see Tozzy just trying to sit on the shoulder and get him behind. It's a clear pattern that's starting to take shape. And mind you, I don't think it's a bad one either. With the pace and power that he possesses, why wouldn't you want to do that?
Collins now looking up, splaying the ball out to Franjic. Ball found his feet, but he couldn't control it. The Knights skipper.
I think we can let him off there, having been an Australian hero, an Asian Cup winner. We'll give him one credit, and then we'll see how he goes in the next one, shall we?
Yeah, Bright Denton for company there. Maybe hearing footsteps as Albano forces the turnover. Couldn't get past Hassan Ramazani. Just really looking for territory. He did have Aussie in the vicinity, but it really didn't get hit with much power towards him, and the Knights come again. White Spreading it out to Sumayoro. Morton look to provide the overlap. That's ignored. Still coming are the Knights. Mitch Hoare trying to drive through, combined with Sumayoro. Couldn't pull the trigger. Franjic now, and it's going to come back for a free kick.
Causing problems down the flanks, and I think that's the key. I touched on it earlier. The compactness of the Lions allows the space in Sumayaro, Franjic on the right side, finding a lot of space.
It is something notable about the Knights that throughout the season, for all their possession and their intricate passing sequences, they lead the league in passing sequences of over 10 passes. They actually don't cross the ball. One of the sides that have sent in the fewest crosses throughout the season, so they will try to dart inside and open you up. There's Aussie again trying to get past Phelps. On that occasion, the big centre-back up to the challenge. Space now on the left. You can just see the possession stats. 81.4% of the ball to the Melbourne Knights. Less than 20 for the Lions, and that surely can't be sustainable, Scott.
Well, you'd like to think not. And I think with Melbourne Knights, as Ivan Franjic is called offside, the danger with all the possession can result in concentration being switched off, and that allows Tozzy the opportunity to run in behind. So the key for Melbourne Knights here is not to switch off, although when they have the ball, they have to be crisp with it and take their chances by moving and penetrating forward. But there's a 2v2 result, lining up for the Lions here against the two centre backs. So they'd fancy their chances if they can get half a chance.
Morton now on the ball. Aussie comes up to apply the pressure. Shepherd then took up the mantle of just marshalling his man, so the Knights are forced to reset and come down the right now. And that just defensive shape from the Lions, forcing the Knights to go around them rather than through them. All 11 players behind the ball for Lions, as it's Andy Pengelly. Tries to apply the pressure on Phelps, who just lost it. Maybe got a bit ambitious for the big centre-back. Denton tried to come away with it, but Knights clean it up.
And that's the concentration I was talking about, Joey. Just allowing himself to get caught on the ball there. If they're slicker, there's an opportunity for the Knights to break away in transition and cause some trouble for Ben Kahn and his team.
All in the hands of Josh Brindle-South over there for the throw. And look for Aussie. Ball in contention. Appeals for a handball, and Sean Evans will agree. So perhaps just, if nothing else, an opportunity to string a few passes together for Lions. Mazzani sends it back to Jarrett. Brindle-South now, but you can see the Knights, they haven't had to show it much tonight, but they've got their own defensive shape and structure. So it's like a 4-4-2 without the ball, Scott.
The team has been talked about a lot in the NPL circles, and definitely that I've heard a Ben Kahn team that defensively are always strong, but with the ball they've shown already that what they can do in trying to break teams down and be patient. Exciting to see, especially for Ben Kahn, who's been talked about as a future A-League coach.
He's done some great work with Olympic, and before that as well, doing some work in the Central Coast Mariners Academy, working with the likes of Josh Nisbet. Would have been very easy to dismiss as a youth coach, given his size. There's Giselle and White trying to combine. Morton had to go back and get it. A long searching ball for Albano, who can't wrangle it down. Jesse Rigby for company, I think it was, and maybe that was just enough. No. Apologies, it was Hart Phillips with him, and well, it's now going to be a free kick for Melbourne Knights in a dangerous looking position here.
The wingers of Melbourne Knights are the constant threat here, with balls over the top, runs in behind, just giving the Lions some nervy moments. the free kick here now.
In this situation, Scott, you're trying to do a training move. We're going to put the ball in the top bins, you know, get your name in the headlines on the national stages. What are you thinking?
Well, I think the percentage play here is to try and find one of the big centre backs. I can only imagine if they're shooting from here and it goes over, I'm sure Ben Collins and Joshua Phelps will have a few choice words to the boys on the ball.
Well, it's White to take, and he was looking for goal in the end, but well, maybe now he can get those choice words from the big lads that had to run all that way up forward for nothing.
Cue those words, Joey, cue those words. I'm sure Steve White will be receiving a fair few verbal volleys after that.
Well, now, there was a bit of space for Brindle South to operate in, but it got closed down in a hurry. And the Lions are going to be forced to reset and switch the play from right to left. The zone closed down. Intelligent ball there to sneak it through for Nathan Shepherd, but then the turnover comes. Franic now for the Knights. White. With the Franic now looking up. Thought about hitting it long. Instead plays the percentages back to Giselle.
Pleasing thing tonight, both teams looking to get the ball on the deck, play some good football, Joe. I think that's really key to note. Although the figures up front are quite big boys for the Lions, they are trying to build up from the back.
Phelps has turned the ball over now. Break in transition on for the Lions. Shepherd. We have Pengelly on the left. Overlapping run comes from Duckworth. All inside. No, seized upon by the Knights. And maybe counter is on. Oh, long ball forward. Look for Sumayoro. He's got Brindle South for company. Staring down his man. Central. Potentially switches on for the Knights. Indeed it is. Franic now. Advantage perhaps played by Sean Evans. Ivan Franic cutting inside. Back out to White. Maybe the move petering out as the Lions set up again in that shape.
Not enough numbers there for Ivan Franic to move forward, so he's had to turn out. Build up again, but they don't mind that. Melbourne Knights like to build up like this.
Sumayoro, well, flung a boot at it, but it's last come off a Lions player, so corner kick opportunity for the hosts. You can see there, well, Ben Collins isn't exactly a small lad, but even he's shorter than Josh Phelps in those pink boots coming forward. Massive target to pick out. Lions leading on the shot count 3-1 thus far. Over 15 minutes gone. Albeit, one does need to note with those 3 shots on target, none have actually been of the sort that if they'd beaten Bahrain, they would have found the net. None on target. As this high ball comes in, big pack forms. It was in the direction of Phelps. He couldn't get there. Albano wound up. His shot deflected away. Phelps on the ball, nothing in front of him, so he's forced to go back to Sumayoro. One of the shortest Knights on the park. It was his job to cover. Franic now looking up. Teasing ball in, but it could only find Josh Brindle South. Again, Knights trying to just lock this ball in and keep knocking on that door. This weight of possession, this weight of territory, will eventually take its toll on the Lions. You can see, Scott, they're not too intent to press from their front two, are they? They're saving energy.
They are, like we touched on earlier. They're looking to soak up the pressure, and any quick win, they'll look to move forward. And at the moment, it's working well for them, you have to say. There's been no clear-cut chances for the Knights. Only half chances, which I'm sure Ben Khan will want to try and convert this possession into more clear-cut, maybe here.
Franic finds Albano, low ball in, bouncing, picked up by Lions and then just hoofed away by Jackson Hart-Phillips. Here we go again. I'm not sure what take we're on now, but another take of the Knights knocking this ball around, trying to just inch their way through this. You can see the amount of numbers behind the ball for Lions, and how they're shuffling over and closing up any open space. It's again bringing it inside, but Zani clears away.
Slowly starting to get a little bit deeper, finding themselves on the edge of the box. Darren Simon won't be too happy with the way it's been going over the last few minutes, that's for sure.
Jared is able to close down any thoughts of a cross or inward ball there, so the Knights reset. Keeping the ball on this left-hand side. Sumeoro. Trying to lose Brindle South and head up the touchline, but the Lions defender recovered. Collins now. And to Josh Phelps. And then was knocking it sort of in the Albano and Franjic direction. Couldn't find either. Hart Phillips instead seizes upon it. And Ramazani helps it along the way to Barine. For Aussie, long ball forward, but, well, the Lions' number 17, the big attacker, was coming back from an offside position.
And that's something that Luke Borean won't be very happy with there. Trying to go direct, and unfortunately for him, when your star striker Ivan Aussie is offside, it's another wave of attack for the Knights and another round of defending.
As Nathan Shepherd initially looked like he turned the ball over there, but he's going to win a free kick. So if nothing else, an opportunity for Lions to just shift this territory battle and get the ball into Knights half. And that shaky moment early when Aussie broke through very quickly and forced a fantastic save out of Jacob Wiseman. But other than that, that Knights goal has really been living a bit of a charmed life.
Most of it's been played in the Knights half, Joey. But with no real chances to speak about. This seems to be the picture at the moment, with the Melbourne Knights building up and just keeping this ball without any clear-cut chances.
Oh, that's a turnover. Aussie back to Pengelly and then immediately peels away, looking for the long ball forward. Charging forward there is Duckworth. He's got a lot of defenders to beat. Ben Collins getting across, and who's that last taking a touch on? Last taking a touch indeed off Joe Duckworth. So the Knights able to just snuff out any kind of danger from what has been a rare Lions foray forward. Franjic again. Knights seem to be favouring Franjic especially during the build-up, him and Albano, a bit more than the ball has gone to the left-hand side, those two on the right. You just see there the number of total passes on your screen. Melbourne Knights, well, it's probably over 200 now, but 196 to 59, they really are. Well, potentially one might call it death from 1,000 cuts, could be best describe their strategy, but haven't really got deep into the Lions yet. Brindle South coming up to try to intercept. Ball is turned straight back over to the Knights, though.
Ben Khan will be happy, but at the same time, he will be looking for more from his team. With the amount of possession they've had, they would have liked to have created more chances, and as we see here, trying to go direct.
Knights coming up with the ball now in the midfield. There's a bit of disorganisation in both camps. Trying to capitalise on that long ball forward in the college direction. Only goes as far as Boreen, who just, well, invites a little bit of pressure and then picks it up. Mazzani, well, his first control wasn't the best, holding him into a bit of pressure. Now the turnover, Albano driving through. Albano, he's got options, he's going to shoot. Gene Albano opens the scoring for Melbourne Knights. The hosts have a 1-0 lead in the Australia Cup. The Lions a sloppy turnover and they're made to pay.
Take a bow, Gian Albano. Carried on from his previous game. Puts that one top corner. Melbourne Knights convert that domination in possession into goals, Joey.
You can see he had options to his right and left, but I think Gian Albano, the second he picked that ball up and realised what was happening. And nice little flick on. And then just really putting it up, bending it off that left boot around Bahrain and into the top corner of the net. A very nice looking goal, and after in the 23rd minute of football here at Knights Stadium, it is the hosts, Melbourne Knights, with a 1-0 lead. I mean, would you call it deserved, Scott? Do you reckon they've good value for it?
Based on possession, I would, mate. I definitely would. We were looking for some clear-cut chances, and when you have some good players like Gian Albano, and they create them themselves, but I think on the Lions side, they'll be very disappointed with Ivan Ozzy there, coughing up possession when they're trying to transition quickly forward. So I think that's something that Darren Simon will have to try and correct as such when it comes to half time, because those mistakes can't be made against a team that are dominating and look quite clinical.
Now another turnover as Franjic is forced to go back to Wiseman, and of course throughout those opening exchanges we saw the Lions sitting off and just inviting the pressure, but down a goal you can see they've immediately started pressing. You can't sit off when you're down a goal, can you, Scott? You
certainly can't, mate. You certainly can't, and that's the challenge now for the Lions. They have to come out. They have to start moving the team further up the pitch to try and regain possession, and it'll be interesting how it plays out now.
See this goal again. Albano cutting onto that left foot, bending effort. The West Australian, well, he leads this Melbourne Knights team in goals in the NPL Victoria competition. He took the lead over Kieran Brumwell, who's on the bench tonight. He took the lead with that hat-trick. He's on 10 goals for the season. He's now on 3 for the Australia Cup run as well. Got 2 in the preliminary round. So if there's probably one player that you don't want on the ball driving towards the penalty area, it is Albano. He was pointing forward, wanting the ball into space as the Knights look to break. It ends up coming to him now. Franjic providing the overlapping run. Gets the ball now back to Albano. A lot of Lions players in the way. College in the vicinity as well, but Ramazani, Hassan Ramazani, just shepherds the ball out for a goal kick. And you see there on the screen Albano getting into the opposition penalty area, 3 touches in the box, and I guess on that previous play, Scott, we saw Albano just pointing into acres of space behind the Lions' defence. If they are going to come out and have to press forward, that is going to open up spaces for Sumayaro and Albano, isn't it?
It certainly is, mate. It certainly is. And throughout the first half, we've seen the Melbourne Knights looking to penetrate as we are here down the wings.
Here we go. Albano trying to break through. He's used his physicality. He's into the penalty area. Is this 2? No, he's going to cut it back. We had College and Sumayaro arriving, but a host of Lions defenders as well to block it away. Comes into the penalty area again, dispossessed. White on the ball now for Knights. Was he too unselfish there, Scott?
I'm gobsmacked, Joey. I'm absolutely gobsmacked. A player in form has just scored tonight, and he's in front of goal, and he's trying to square it. Take a hit. Take a shot. You're in great form, son.
A bit too clever, perhaps.
Well, I don't think Ben Kahn will think he's too clever, because it could be 2-0 up.
Yeah, College trying to force a turnover. Just got bundled over for his troubles now as Jared plays the ball central for Jesse Rigby, or he gets it back. Skippering the Lions tonight is Tommy Jared. Tommy Jared has been part of all of the Lions' previous appearances on the national stages of this competition, 2015, 2018 and 2021. Played a full 120 minutes in their 1-0 loss to Perth Glory back in 2015. He's a 16-year-old. As now his team gets forward, Nathan Shepherd keeping the ball low on the track, and that's another fine effort. Jackson Hart-Phillips driving the ball in, and Wiseman forced to just tip it over the crossbar.
It hasn't been common, Joey. It hasn't been common. They've found themselves in the box. But some good play down the left.
Yeah, we see at the other end, here's the chance for Albano. Well, he was being closed down by Bahrain, but again...
Take your shot, Jan. Take your shot. Find yourself on the score sheet for the second time tonight, son.
Now, here we go. corner for Lions, and it's off the crossbar.
Slowly starting to come back into the game now, the Lions, after going 1-0 down.
And you can see, well, we've got the replay of the initial chance. There was a low ball in, and Jackson Hart-Phillips slicing a left-footed shot off his boot that forced a fantastic save from Wiseman. And then coming forward, Tommy Jarrett driving a header off the crossbar. So stung to life is perhaps the descriptor of the Lions, getting forward now, creating chances.
That was a bit naughty from Jesse Rigby. Left it late. Left it very late on Jack Morton.
He escapes a card as well.
Like you said, Joey, it must be the time of the football season that Sean is a little bit shy to bring out the cards. Unusual. A very good referee, nonetheless.
One of the best in the business. Saw Ali Reza Fagani refereeing in the Australia Cup round of 32 as well, bringing out the big guns at this stage.
Well, that certainly is a man that doesn't like bringing out his cards.
Was a bit of a hip and shoulder there, bit of biff.
Cop that on the chin, he says. Cop that on the chin.
Throw in taken quickly. Ramazani. Mr. Jarrett, who rattled the crossbar moments ago with a header from a corner. Lions trying to play out from the back. They haven't been as clean in possession as the Knights. You can see there on the screen. Basically 92% accuracy to 80. They've worked their way out of trouble here. Eddie Pengelly had Phelps at his back, but he's done well to switch the play to Josh Brindle South, who knocks it back down to Rigby. And the territory has shifted. The play now in the Knights' defensive half.
Bit surprised, Joey. The Lions have actually changed Aussie and moved him on the other side, away from Joshua Phelps, where they're having some good chances through there. So a bit surprised they've changed and moved him to the other side.
There's Rai Denton. He'll work his way forward under pressure from Sumayaro, which induces him to go backwards.
Game slightly shifted here, Joey.
There's Duckworth keeping along. Oh, Pengelly's gone down behind play. Meanwhile, though, Aussie bursting forward, has to go back and get it. Had Phelps for company, goes down in the box, appeals for something from Sean Evans. Not heated. And the attack peters out.
Jesse Rigby were disappointed with letting the Knights off there.
And there was a nice ball into the box. Pengelly goes down, but Aussie's there to collect. Just shoulder on shoulder with Phelps. Didn't catch the incident where he went down on the replay there, but needless to say, don't think there was much in it from our first viewing.
No, not much in that, but if I'm Darren Syme, I would put back Aussie back onto Joshua Phelps. I think that's a change that needs to happen. Aussie was troubling Phelps early on. Don't know why they've changed it.
There's a long ball forward. Now it's Pengelly versus Phelps. Headed central on Lions attacker. No teammates in the vicinity. Giselle. Now to Albano, the goal scorer. Again, cutting inside. Wanted Hall, gets it back from him. Brindle South just puts his boot through it. Play is sent back to Collins and resetting on. Although now Franjic has gotten forward. It's a 2-on-1 situation out here on the flank. Albano, he tried to leave it late, tried to bring the defender in. Franjic cleans up for him. Duckworth back to Barine, who just says, well, bugger this, I'm going long. Pengelly's attempted control is stolen back away by the Knights. Brindle South now on the right, bit of time, helps to go central. Jarrett under pressure from Samayoro. Phillips one way and then the other. There's a bit of skill there to get it central to Duckworth, and now Aussies burst through again. Wiggy against Phelps, cut back Pengelly.
There it is, Joey, there it is. I said it earlier that Tozzy had to go back onto Phelps. Rolls him beautifully, cuts it, and we're at 1-1.
There we go, the man with the crystal ball in the commentary booth, Scott Jamieson, as it is Lions FC getting the equaliser. Aussie just turning his man, driving into their box. Phelps, well, a lot of attackers would be knocked off the ball by that shoulder, but not Ivan Aussie, as he was able to square it up. And Andy Pengelly, who was the only Lions player to have scored a goal in the national stages coming into this game, he's there to score probably one of the more simple goals he will ever get in his career. Open goal, close range, but they all count. And we are back at an equilibrium here in Sunshine. Melbourne Knights 1, Lions FC 1.
Fantastic there from Ivan Aussie. Just rolled Phelps because he was too tight, used the body weight. Had enough joy in the first 5 to 10 minutes, and that's something that I saw that I was a bit confused as they swapped. So something that Phelps, and especially Ben Khan, will have to look at.
As you always can see after these goals that the press of whoever has just found the net, there's always a little bit more energy in it. There's a little bit more pep in the step, hoping to grab that second. Of course, sometimes it does lead to getting caught out going the other way.
Without a doubt. Without a doubt. There's a mental shift when you've conceded one.
As Franjic swings this in, Samayoro!
He's done it!
He's done it! We were tied for all of 60 seconds. I mean, Mohamed Samayoro, he gets sent back for corners. He's not exactly blessed with height, but he's risen on that occasion, and he's been able to just beat Bahrain. And, well, we were literally talking about it, Scott. What happens after a goal? It's the most dangerous time, and the Knights have found a way to take the lead immediately.
Unbelievable. The Lions look in shock, Joey. Absolute state of shock through the whole Lions team. Not someone you would have thought got onto a header. Fantastic ball by Ivan Franjic. As we see to the back post.
Could have even come off Brindle South, the back of his head.
And he'd be disappointed with that, Brindle South. Knowing enough that behind him wasn't the biggest player. Sumiaro gets higher. We find ourselves back at 2-1 to Melbourne Knights.
You touched on it, Scott. You really need to give credit to that ball from Franjic. The class that a Socceroo can bring to the NPL.
That is the case. It's a case of Ivan has done it for many years, not just for the teams he's played in the A-League, but also for the Socceroos we've seen many times. Him getting down the right, delivering balls. Most famously one for Tim Cahill in the FA Cup win for Melbourne City.
Indeed, and this not even his first stint at Melbourne Knights. Played for Melbourne Knights back in, I think, 2007 and 8.
There you go.
Club. So a homecoming hero, Franjic, laying the table for the Knights equaliser, not equaliser, go-ahead goal.
Just starting to open up now, Joey. Just starting to open up more and more as the game goes on, which is fantastic for us and the viewers. No doubt we wanted to see goals, and we're getting it tonight, that's for sure.
There's another look now at the goal coming up. Franjic, pinch a perfect ball, and then Sumayoro, Bahrain dived and gets a hang to it.
Just gives himself enough room from Brindle South. But like I said, Brindle South will be very disappointed. Sumayaro is not the biggest. A-League experience, he'd want to be doing better than that, that's for sure.
As now we see Matt Rydenson and Joe Duckworth in conversation over the free kick, the right footer and the left footer. 3-player wall for the Knights, and then the old pack is formed just inside the Knights penalty area. Ball is dinked up, dinked high, but it is Phelps getting the last touch, I think, out for a corner. And we have seen Tommy Jarrett rattle the crossbar from one corner already tonight, albeit one delivered from the other side. Nathan Shepherd to take. In swinging ball was sent in the Aussie direction. Phelps clears it away. Samayoro just puts his boot through it. And taken quickly by Nathan Shepherd.
It's a critical time now, Joey, for both teams. More so for Melbourne Knights. They do not want to concede. With 7 minutes to go, they've just gone 2-1 up. They want to be able to hold this result out till half-time at least.
Attempted little flick on by Ngeli, doesn't come off. I mean, if you are the Knights and the Lions do force their way back into this game just before half-time, just what does that do to the mood in the change rooms?
Well, I don't know what it does for the mood in the changes, but it certainly rises our mood and the viewers with goals galore. But you have to say, going in at 2-2 with being 2-1 up with 5 to 7 minutes to go, it's certainly deflating. You do have to restock, refuel, but essentially pick yourself off the canvas, because going in at 2-2 with 5 minutes to go would be quite disappointing.
I mean, conversely, if they could get a goal up the other end, I mean, the disappointment Lions would have had of giving back the lead just seconds after equalising and then copping a third just before half-time. Could that even put this game to bed?
Well, that's the key now for the Lions. I don't think they need to be going chasing in the next 5-7 minutes to try and score a goal. I think Darren Syme will look at the first half and see, although they were pegged quite deep, there was enough in it for them to be confident enough they can get another few chances in the second half. So I think it's key not to be going gung-ho just to finish the half off to try and get back in the game.
Long throw in, flicked on, but claimed by Jacob Wiseman. As we've talked about, despite being the backup, he's had to come up with a couple of huge saves for his side. As the Knights trying to get the ball out from their half. Their possessional dominance has certainly subsided since the goals started coming in. Still winning it, 60-40 odd, but it's not the levels of 80-20 we were seeing in the early stages.
No, we've just seen the Lions come back into this game as the goals have started hitting the back of the net, and I think that's the key, is not allowing Melbourne Knights to dominate the game with the possession. It's starting to try to force them back towards their own goal and make sure that they start giving the ball away.
There you go, less than 5 minutes of regulation remaining in this opening half, plus whatever fourth official Adam Bavkar decrees we are owed. The turnover, Samayoro. Couldn't just flick it on. He had College to his left, Albano to his right, and eventually it's going to be a free kick for Lions after the let-off. There we go. Look at that. You can see there on the replay. Security guard. Well, he had no idea where Jack Morton was going there.
Nor did we. He must have thought it was an early half-time call there. He wanted to go down the race.
You played on the flanks, Scott. Did you ever accidentally collect a ball kid or a security guard or anything like that?
I'd hate to say it, but I think a few of my passes went astray a fair few times and hit security guards and ball boys. So I'm not one to be giving anyone a bit of a stick, that's for sure.
Well, probably better for the ball kids, because they're watching the play and they're watching the field. The security guard's supposed to be watching the stands, aren't they? Might hit them in the back.
Well, yeah. I'm sure their boss will have a word or two to speak to them about.
As we now see Lions coming forward again. Ray Denton just driving it in. Giselle helps clear it away for the Knights, who can now potentially look to break. Albano trying to slot it through for Samayoro, but didn't have the proper weighting on that ball, and it's taken away by the Lions.
And that's where Gianna Albano needs to realise, I guess, the scoreboard, but also the noticeable shift that has come with Lions having more of the ball in territory to not try and force something there. Continue to run with the ball and and if anything, try and win a foul.
And that's not decreed a foul, so Lions coming away with it. And an Aussie just attempted, I think that was an outside of the boot, attempted pass from Rydenton, didn't come off. Morton now, space on that left flank.
They're the kind of passes where I think you check the ground to see if there was a bubble or something. I'm sure Rydenton will look to do that.
Because there absolutely is always a bobble in that situation, isn't there? It wasn't the pass, it was never the pass.
There's always a bobble with a bad pass, let me tell you that.
Morton now, trying to just burst up the flank, but he was well marshalled by Nathan Shepherd. Mitch Hall presented an option short. Instead it goes down the flank, intended for Sumayoro, but Josh Brindle south. Marshals it over the line for a Lions throw. Mazzani out to this flank with Hart Phillips. Looping the ball over the top. And it's Rydenton giving chase from the midfield. And that one goes out. He's well known, the former Jet and Wellington Phoenix player. Spent a year with Aurora as well, didn't he?
He did, yeah. A player that was always a tidy player to come up against. If I'm not wrong, I think he did have a serious injury at some point, which probably stunted him, but was always a player that was tidy enough and you always took notice of.
Now in his second season with Lions FC, the five-time Kiwi international. Now Ivan Franjic, speaking of internationals on the park, bringing the ball forward before he hits a bit of a brick wall, forcing him to go central to White, to Giselle Hoare. Former Lions FC player, as we've mentioned, Mitch Hoare. Came down last year and signed with Bentley before crossing over to Sunshine. As fourth official, Anna Bavkar, indicates that we will have 2 minutes of extra football here at the end of the opening stanza. It is the Knights that retain a 2-1 lead.
Something I was intrigued to see tonight, Joey, was the amount of added time on to the game because of the whole fury of the English Premier League and how much is being added on there. So not too much has changed here in Australia, which is, I think, quite good. Always an interesting debate, isn't it? The added time.
Could be going FIFA rules and getting an extra 9 or 10 minutes as that ball hits towards Albano and is headed clear. Throw in for the Knights. You a fan of the FIFA 9-10 minutes extra?
No, I'm not, mate. I'm not. It's something that just drags the game on, if I'm really honest. Ultimately, yeah, if there is certain time wasting elements to the game, by all means add it on, but I'm not one for stopping the game, stopping the clock, sorry, when the ball goes out, just for throw-ins and stuff like that, for sure.
It's a barnstorming run by Mitch Hoare. I think it comes for very little as the Knights are forced to reset. Crossfield ball from White for Morton. Just about 30-odd seconds of the added time to play here at Knight Stadium. We'll see whether or not Melbourne Knights can get the ball forward and have one final opportunity, or if we'll just sort of peter out with this possession-based play. Or looking up. Spied Sumayoro, couldn't get the ball off to him. Sean Evans has seen enough as he signals the end of this opening half here at Knight Stadium, where it is the hosts with a 2-1 lead. It was Gian Albano cutting inside and putting them ahead. Andy Pangeli equalising, but then just seconds later, Mohamed Sumayoro with a header, a rare header from the winger to restore the Knights to the lead. See there, Melbourne Knights 2, Lions FC 1. Scott, deserved lead for Melbourne Knights?
I'd say so, Joey. I think they deserve to be up. Dominated most of the ball. We were saying early on in the game that they weren't creating much, but it ended up being a dominating half, albeit Lions won't be too disappointed. There's been enough in them, albeit only the one goal, but there's enough in the Aussie Phelps battle for me to give the Lions a lot of confidence.
As the juniors get on the pitch, we can see some of the fans that have come out here. We'll go to the highlights from this opening half, and well, you can see Albano with the opening goal of the game, driving inside. That ball in the top left-hand corner for Melbourne Knights. It came off a turnover, which won't be too pleasing to Darren Syme.
No, not at all, mate, not at all. And this is the boy that we've been talking about that has been in excellent form, Gian Albano, and to cut inside on his weaker foot, top corner, and take the lead, superb.
And here we see it was the Lions responding. Ivan Aussie getting the better of Josh Phelps as he just crossed the ball, and Andy Pengelly doesn't need to be told twice to score from those circumstances. Winning the physical battle was Aussie.
And that's the battle that I think could change the game if it does stay that way, where we're finding Aussie on Phelps. I think that's the best way back in it for the Lions. We see there, powerful, quick, being able to manoeuvre around him.
But then it was the Knights responding immediately. Ivan Franjic with a Socceroo-worthy ball, finding Mo Sumayoro at the back post. Well, rising, getting that, as you mentioned, Scott, they're getting that yard of space and putting the Knights back ahead.
It's down those flanks, especially the right one for the Knights, where they're finding the most joy, and being able to put some balls in, and even Franjic doing what he's done for most of his career, giving themselves great opportunities. But Matthew Redenta will be very disappointed with that defending, I'd have to say. Well,
you can see there, well, the possession, the shots, touches in the opposition box, they all favour Melbourne Knights, but it is, if you look at the XG there, Scott, the expected goals, it is the Lions that actually hold the advantage, 0.89 to 0.31. You surprised by that?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that expected goals stat's always a funny one, but ultimately what matters the most is the result, and then I believe secondly the possession.
Well, they did have a few of those early chances that forced saves from Wiseman, but we'll have to see whether the Lions can, well, take advantage of their XG advantage and turn it into real goals on the scoreboard. That will be in the second half, though. We'll be taking a break now here from Sunshine, but please be sure to join us for the second stanza of this round 32 clash in the Australia Cup. Welcome back, one and all, to Knights Stadium out here in sunshine in Melbourne's West, where it is the hosts that retain a 2-1 lead heading into the second stanza of this Australia Cup round of 32 clash. It was the Melbourne Knights that took the lead through their in-form leading man, Gian Albano. The Lions pegged one back through Andy Pengelly, only for the Melbourne Knights to retake the lead seconds later, when that Mohamed Sumayoro rose at the back peg and headed home past Luke Boreen. All to play for here in the second half. My name is Joey Lynch. Thank you ever so much for joining us once again here on 10 Play for all the action, and it has been my great pleasure to be joined in the first half, and indeed it will be in the second, by Scott Jamieson. Scott, well, what do you think the message was, particularly from Darren Syme in the Lions dugout, to try to get his side back into this one?
Well, I think they would have seen in the first half there was enough joy and enough in the game for them to be positive, but there's no doubt with them being 2-1 down, Joey, they're going to have to start pressing Melbourne Knights a little bit higher and make sure that they don't have the ball as much as they did in the first half, because at times Melbourne Knights were able to dictate the game and orchestrate their attacks in a quite easy way. So I'm sure Darren would have looked at that, and also we talked about it, Ivan Ozzie trying to get the ball to him in positions where he can use his pace and power and cause havoc.
Well, Lions looking to avoid an unwanted bit of history tonight. Every other time they have advanced to the national stages of the Australia Cup, they have advanced through to the round of 16. In fact, the only time they have ever lost in the Australia Cup has come up against A-League men opposition, Perth Glory, Adelaide and Brisbane. So, wanting to avoid the Knights, making them their first scalp of their campaign. And you can see early on, Scott, this press, maybe that was the message at half-time, because it has forced a turnover.
I think it was clear that they would have had to have shuffled up the park a lot further to try and get the ball off Melbourne Knights through them building up.
Now White coming under immediate pressure there from Rigby. Wriggled away, and now here come the Knights. Golic, what he saw in front of him, went back to Giselle. Switch of play to Morton. Now he's got a lot of time and space to look up and figure out what he wants to do, and that is going back to Ben Collins. So the Knights looking to pick up right about where they left off with this possession-based style, building out from the back. And commentator's curse, immediately White knocks the ball forward, which is seized upon by the Lions, although almost giving it straight back. Jared now, picking it up at the back, across to Ramazani, the Marine. One of a number of former Brisbane Roar prospects in this Lions FC side. Those, well, the links between Lions FC and the Brisbane Roar well known.
Former club of Warren Moon.
Well, so hopefully he's watching tonight.
There you go. Shout out to Warren if he's watching.
Aussie trying to burst through, but Wiseman coming out from the penalty area, but he's going to have to get back as the Lions still retain possession. Shot deflected away for a corner. And you can really see the intent that the Lions have come out with, asking questions of the hosts.
Certainly a different shift here, Joey. Certainly a different shift. You see there, pressuring the goalkeeper, forcing a bit of a scuffle and turnover, and now we find ourselves with a corner.
High in swinging ball, players rising, falls, nobody able to get a proper contact on it. Aussie trying to find a teammate, look with the cutback, but bounces off Ivan Franjic for another corner.
Bit of pressure mounting now, Melbourne Knights having to deal with it.
They've got all 11 players in the penalty area to defend this one. So really nobody able to transition out. It's all hands on deck. It looks like we'll have another in-swinging corner delivered. Headed clear. Centred back in by Josh Brindle South. I'm sure he meant to centre it, maybe winding up for a shot. Then long range. Hassan Ramzani, I think that was a pass, but too much weight on it.
I could see what he was trying to do with a form of a no-look pass, which isn't a bad idea. With the Melbourne Knights defence rushing out to him, there's always an option to go back the reverse way and try and catch them off guard. Just overhit it.
Collision there. And it's going to come back, and well, here we go. Sean Evans producing his first slice of cheese for this competitive season, and it is an Aussie that is the recipient.
A traditional striker's tackle there from the great man Ivan Aussie. Just left a little bit late. Whether Collins has played it up a little bit.
Well, he looks like he's copped a hellacious blow to the face there.
Yeah. You'd have to see another replay to make my judgment known, but did look a little bit soft.
He did get up grinning.
There you go. There you go. It says it all.
Maybe that's because he was thankful he still had a chin because of the contact, though. Maybe we don't know. As the ball is now booted clear, headed back by Rigby. Hit tennis breaking out. Eventually, it's going to fall to Ramazani. We were talking before the game. Scott Ramazani got one A-League minute appearance, 7 minutes in a 3-0 win for Brisbane Roar over Melbourne City.
Yeah, you spoke about that prior to the game.
Do you remember it?
Still trying to rack my brain when we got beat by Brisbane Roar 3-0. I'd have to try and to speak to the facts man and the producer Daniel there to find out when that was the case. But
unless the internet has let me down. It's back in 2020-21, according to Soccerway at least.
Well, there you go. If it's on the paper, then it must be true, but like I said, I don't remember it, to be honest with you.
At the sign of a champion, Scott, and bad defeats, you just forget them and immediately on to the next one.
That is the case, mate. No more than the crushing result in the last grand final, I can tell you that. Forget it and move on.
Now Jarrett out to Brindle South, who sends it back.
Or in my case, retire and move on.
And so yourself sure, mate. We were talking about it before. Ivan Franjic, the only man out there to have won the Australia Cup, won it. It was the only piece of silverware Melbourne City had won until Scott Jamieson rocked up and led them into their dynastic dominance.
A trophy that has eluded me, or did elude me through my whole career. Had a few finals. Unfortunately, wasn't able to capitalise on any.
As that ball gets swung in. I mean, as a player that's, been there and seen this competition grow, Scott, has it grown in importance or prestige in your eyes?
I think it has, mate. I think the fact that, you do get the ties where it is an NPL side against an A-League side, and, the opportunity for an upset to happen is always great. But also I like the theatre about it, and I guess the romance about it, where you have 9 to 5 workers getting trips away and experiencing a bit of Australia. I think it's great, and it's something that as a league and as a footballing code we definitely do need to keep investing in.
As Mitch Hall gives away the free kick, which is just dinged inside. Headed clear, foot race is on. Lions getting there first as it comes out to Rai Denton, who goes back to Ramazani. Jarrett. Lies down by College, maybe inducing him forward before he switches the play out to the left. Ball down the flank. Pengelly's going to give chase. And then Aussie just cleaning up Phelps. And it's going to come back for a free kick.
Probably the right call there by Sean Evans. Just a bit too hasty to get to the ball there, Aussie, and has gone through the back of Joshua Phelps. But I'm starting to see a little bit of a shift now with the Lions controlling more of the ball. I'm sure Ben Khan will want to get the message through to his players, definitely, that what made them successful in the first half should be the case in the second.
Ivan Aussie certainly had a debut to remember in the NPL with Lions. His senior debut and scoring a brace against Brisbane City earlier this year. Coach Darren Sy would certainly love for him to mimic that in his debut at an Australia Cup national stages level.
Well, he's the one. He's the one I see that is the big problem for Melbourne Knights. And if they're to get back in this game, he'll play a big part.
Right, Denton stole the ball away there. It's going to fall to Aussie, trying to lay it back off. Brindle South. Duckworth. Right, Denton. You can see now the turn of the Knights to just assemble in the defensive shape and structure. And Golich almost forcing a turnover.
And this is a trend that Ben Kahn won't want, Joey. He won't want his team sitting back. It's too early in the game, and by all accounts, I don't think it's his style to be able to sit in and allow pressure. So something that he will try and get a message across to his team to start forcing Lions back into their own half and down into their side of the pitch.
Bahrain thought about going long, instead kept it short along the ground. Good defensive header from Phelps. 50-50, advantage called. Giselle, pressured by Rai Denton, shielding the ball. Getting out to Franjic. Which was getting closed down by Sean Carlos. Turnover now comes, and Aussie's, well, he's thrown a hip and shoulder behind play, and it's going to come back.
I think he's trying to do it in the most discreet way, and has unfortunately turned out for him the most obvious block there. Just enough shoulder in there to put it right on his nush.
We're not at the MCG or Marvel Stadium tonight. We are at Knights Stadium. Here's Ben Collins that he collected, who's still down. We'll get the replay of it now. So it was a promising attack, and well, it's just a very healthy block, we'll call it. Collins still down. We were talking about maybe did Collins get proper contact before? There was certainly contact there.
He certainly got it there, Joey. I think in basketball they try and call that a pick and roll. And unfortunately for him, he's been fouled out.
Let's look at the replay. Bang. Solid.
He's a big boy. Aussie is a very big boy.
Phelps loops it long, but he can't find Albano.
We didn't see this in the first half, Joey. You know, Melbourne Knights going a bit, certainly going direct. It was more of a case in the first half. They were trying to get it down, play through the lines. So from that point of view, Lions will definitely be encouraged by that, because it's not the case where in the first half that was happening.
Duckworth back to Luke Marine. Ramazani goes central. They've been able to get this ball up the pitch now. And Carlos lays it off for Brindle South. Denton, and then in turn went back to Jared as those possession stats that you saw on the screen just increasingly getting close to a 50-50 contest. These two sides that do like to play football. In the past we have seen physical battles between Lions FC and Ben Khan's sides as well, but at least for now, we are seeing maybe some hints of physicality, but still a football match out there rather than a hockey or some sort, as is the Knights preparing to make a substitution now. And Luka Golic will be making way and replaced by the Curaçaoan international, Javaro Nepomuceno. So here we go. He did actually get called up for international duty earlier in the season. He missed a game because he got called up into the Curaçaoan side for Gold Cup qualifiers. It was an unused sub in their penalty shootout loss to St Kitts and Nevis. But now he's on the pitch here in the Australia Cup. You need a Gold Cup when you've got the Australia Cup.
playing history in quite a few countries I see there, Joey. Portugal, Romania,
Bulgaria, English Football League, Dutch second division. He certainly can hit them. I remember a game earlier in the NPL Victoria season here for the Knights where he scored a free kick from about 30 yards out. So he's gone up top for the Knights. Meanwhile, at the other ends, Pengelly, who knows how to find the goals himself, brings it down. Carlos looking for Brindle South. Who's that last come off? It's going to be a goal kick.
Direct ball there, causing problems for Melbourne Knights, two centre-backs, and I don't think it's an option. With the pace and power we've seen in the first half from Aussie, it just causes problems for the Melbourne Knights centre-backs and allows them to get further up the pitch and have some form of a half chance where it could have either been a corner or a goal kick.
The Knights bring this ball down the right, ball played in central, looking for Sumayoro for a very unlikely headed brace for Aussie, but Aussie again, as we saw in the first half, just coming back from an offside position, just not timing those runs and figuring out his positioning in relation to the defence.
And this is the pattern I think the game will start going, Joe. I think you will start seeing the Lions be more direct and trying to get the ball to their big two front boys in Pengelly and certainly Aussie. It's something that Melbourne Knights will have to be aware of.
As an hour ticks away here at Knights Stadium. Score remains Melbourne Knights 2, Lions FC 1. Melbourne Knights attempting to qualify for the round of 16 for the first time since 2016. They beat Coburn City in the round of 32, the WA side, for losing 3-1 to Green Gully in the round of 16. Always has to suck when you're an NPL side and you get knocked out by a team in your same league. Not only did you get eliminated from the cup, you didn't even get an away trip out of it.
And that's what I was going to say, Joey. I think the biggest carrot, apart from playing an A-League team, is those away trips. Telling the boss you're away for a few days because you're travelling interstate for football and you're packing your away gear first before your boots.
Now here comes Mitch Hall, winding up over the crossbar, but barely. The former Lions man coming agonisingly close to really potentially driving a dagger through their comeback hopes.
The first chance for the Melbourne Knights there, Joey. First chance of this half. Just driving through midfield there. Gets a shot off. Not a bad shot.
Probably had the keeper beat.
He did. Finding a bit of space in there and taking it on to have it hit. Why not? 2-1 up.
The Knights look to continue their march through this competition. They were, did it rather handily in the preliminary stages, only falling behind once in the round 7 preliminary clash against Yarraville, but then storming back in the second stanza to take a 3-1 lead. Did have a bit of a shaky league form around that. Speaking of Ben Khan before the game, just talking about the schedule load that his side was facing. Australia Cup games, Doherty Cup games and league, but they've had a week and a half off now and looking much stronger for it.
It's always going to be a challenge, especially with semi-professional football, with being more successful, the more games on top, and then trying to juggle your workload. Can't be easy. Full credit to the Melbourne Knights and how they've handled it, but also the other teams in the competition from Melbourne especially.
And Heidelberg also in action tonight against Moreton Bay United. So unfortunately for NPL Victoria denizens, the Goulburn Valley Suns eliminated last night. Oakley Cannons in action next week in a game you're very interested in, Scott Jamieson, against the side you are now coaching, Melbourne City, on Sunday in fact.
Yeah, Sunday afternoon, 2 p.m, Oakley Cannons. First competitive game. We've had a few friendlies, so This will be our first competitive game, and a very good side in Oakley, so preparation has been underway for a while now. I'm certainly looking forward to the challenge that they possess.
We've also got here Northcote City in Victoria facing off with Adelaide United. They've got that carrot of drawing an A-League side.
We'd like to think the Northcote fans will pack out the stadium there and make it a hostile environment for Adelaide United, who are very successful in this tournament.
I think in the stadium there, John Kane. As the Knights coming forward now. Mitch Hoare loses his footing and eventually, well, he's done enough maybe to ensure his side can retain possession over there on that right flank. Ball in dispute. Hoare now with the touch, but then his pass intended for Albano lets him down.
Albano noticed pretty quickly that ball was not going to stay in for him. Didn't want a bar of it, saved his energy. So give me one that's better next time.
Some other games still to come after tonight in the round of 32. Sydney FC coming up against the Mariners, an all A-League clash. Campbelltown City against Macarthur. You could sort of call that the Campbelltown now. Campbelltown City, Macarthur playing Campbelltown. And then another A-League clash as the Jets face off with Brisbane Roar. Yeah, you could see on the screen Albano maybe limping a little bit. Give me an eye in now as Giselle carries the ball forward. Albano on the ball. We'll see whether he's got any sort of burst. Wanted to play the overlap, doesn't come off. And he does look to be in a bit of discomfort behind play, so see whether Ben Khan is forced to go to his bench or it's something that Albano can run off. Meanwhile, Hoare having a good patch of this game, Mitch Hoare. Carried it inside and laid it off for Giselle. And on the right for the Knights, nothing going there. Giselle closed down by Rigby. Just go back to Phelps. Frenic had the ball ricochet away from him, lost his footing and lost the ball out of play. No offside for Albano.
It's been a good 5 minutes for Melbourne Knights. They've reclaimed the possession and the direction that this game was going in, because the Lions had the upper hand and started taking a hold of the game. So Melbourne Knights will be pleased with what's transpired over the last 5 minutes, that's for sure.
Puts his boot through it. And skied forward for Lions. Oh, Collins let it go. Now it's going to fall perhaps for Aussie. Trying to cut back inside and get the shot off, but deflected away for a corner by Phelps.
Comes from another direct forward ball, causing problems for Ben Collins there, and with the pace and power of, like I said, those two boys up front, they'll find more times than not that they'll cause those two centre-backs problem, and we'll find ourselves with a corner, a chance hopefully to come.
And yet again we can see the likes of Tommy Jarrod getting up there, everybody forward for the Lions, all hands on deck. Wiseman emerged from the pack to get a hand on it, and it's going to be another corner kick. Another opportunity for Lions.
Pretty clear tactic here, loading the 6-yard box, making the goalkeeper under threat.
Wiseman not the tallest custodian in the country, as that one goes out, and it will be for a goal kick. And well, Wiseman took maybe a second to get to his feet. They don't want to lose him, because with Chris Oldfield overseas, their backup goalkeeper is Luka Panic, who's been playing for the under-21 side, has played at times for the under-18s as well. And I know those of you following the Australia Cup might remember we've had some very young goalkeepers, especially last year in the semi-finals. Wiseman to his feet as the Knights look to play out from the back. Commentators curse again, they went long. They've seized upon it. And the South chests it down. Ramazani, high ball forward. Phelps with a header. Giselle seizes upon it. Marceno sends it straight back with a wall pass, but now the Curaçaoan international faces the right direction. Antoine Barno on the right looks to have shaken off his knock. Denepo Marceno can hit them. Instead, he's going to dig it to the back post. Sumayoro kept out low. The follow-up is in. The Melbourne Knights have their third. Mitch Hall scores against his former side. The Knights lead 3-1.
3-1, and it's that substitution that has made the Melbourne Knights take control of this game once again. The Curaçao International, I love a little dink back post. Sumayaro doing enough, putting it back into the goalkeeper's range, knocks it down, and Hall with the finish.
We have seen a couple of close-range goals at that end. On this occasion, Mitch Hall popping up. The Queenslander, multiple-time NPL Queensland Player of the Year, won silverware with Lions FC, but now he might have scored the goal that will send them out of the Australia Cup. It looks like Brindle South might have got a bit of a defensive touch on it, which prevented Sumayoro from scoring, but inadvertently set it up for Hall to convert.
It's a lovely little ball from Nepomuceno. Just sees the run. Back post. It's right on top of him. Find ourselves at 3-1, and a lot of work now for the Lions FC to do now.
Albeit they will have to defend first. If they try to burst forward again, the Knights, and well, Nepo Marceno, I did talk about how he likes to hit them. That would have been very audacious.
Question now for Darren Simon, his staff is what do they do from the bench, or do they just start going more direct, finding the two big boys up front, causing problems for the Melbourne Knights back four.
As Brindle South comes to collect it, and the Knights look to advance to the round of 16. The round of 16, the farthest the Melbourne Knights have gone in the Australia Cup. As you mentioned, the Knights, in fact, they do have a national cup competition trophy in their cabinet. Back in the old NSL days, was it where they actually won the NSL Cup? Part of their proud history. It was back in 1995 when they ended up beating Heidelberg United 6-0 in the final back then.
Such a big name in Australian football, Melbourne Knights are. And
I mean, they had some big names on the score sheet that day as well. Joe Spiteri with a brace, Steve Horvat, Josip Biskic, and then a certain Mark Viduka popped up with a late brace.
And there you go, the names to go with the club. Such a proud history in the NSL, and no doubt wanting to do big things on the Australian Cup stage. The club's name back in lights. Going the right way about it. 3-1 up.
The Lions look to carry forward. Aussie goes down. A couple of big collisions in there. Only a free kick to the Queensland side coming forward. And then you can see there the Mark Viduka stand, the Mark Viduka VIP and Foundation Members Lounge. That grandstand built in part with the transfer fee that was paid to the Knights when Mark Viduka was sold overseas. Still loves the club, does the V-Bomber.
You wouldn't want to forget where you came from, and that's certainly the case with Mark Viduka, a club that helped start his amazing football career in a stadium, surprisingly, in still good enough nick for my eyes. Speaking beforehand, the stadium is still in pretty good nick, but you'd like to hopefully think that there's more investment in the game and more improvement. You never know, with a big cup run, they might get some more money and pour it back into the facilities, or just put it in their pockets and run away.
I would hope the former. And advocating for more funding, more infrastructure. The Knights come forward again. Fourth would absolutely kill it off as Albano tried to find an angle on goal. Was repulsed on that occasion by Jackson Hart-Phillips.
Good defending there from Jackson Hart-Phillips. Didn't commit. Albano has some pace, so he had to be on his toes. Did enough to show him the line, and for me, does well. Although concedes a corner, still does good defending. Now time to deal with the corner.
The Knights not getting everybody forward. You've got a couple of players hanging back to prevent transition as the ball is swung in. And Mazzani got a high-headed attempted clearance on it. Aussie and trying to bustle through. The Knights trying to just keep it locked in there. Senna claimed it before sending it back. Giselle. Winding up from range was Giselle.
Certainly changed the game, Joey. Although they were winning first half, Nepal Museno coming on. And just tell, got a bit about him. Lovely cultured left foot. Likes to find himself in between the pockets, and has done enough to give his team the extra advantage with a goal setting up.
He has started every game he's been available during the league season. On Nepal Museno, 5 goals in that time.
One does have to ask, how does an international from Curacao find his way to Sunshine West? It's something that we'd have to ask Ben Khan if possible.
Surely just a destination club like Paducah.
Well, he must have found out Sunshine West was the place to live and looked to come out here.
We've got free entry to the Croatia club just behind the stadium here. Melbourne Croatia Soccer Club club rooms where both of these teams will be headed for a feed after the game.
What about the commentators? Do they get a feed?
If you ask nicely, I'm sure they could maybe hook you up with something. We're talking off air. Didn't you have a big chicken on the way here?
I certainly did. The joys of being a retired footballer. Although there will come a time I have to visit the gym. Just not now.
So that's going to be a throw-in for the Knights over on that far right-hand side. Just under 15 minutes to go here in Sunshine. If the Lions are going to do something to get back into this game, it's going to be very soon.
Yeah, they're going to have to do it soon, Joey. 15 minutes to play. The first port of call is we're looking at the bench and there seems to be some movement, but just in general there has to be more of an urgency. There has to be more of a want to try and change this game. I'm not seeing it at the moment. There's no real intensity when they have the ball, but also when they don't have the ball. They need to be really biting at the heels, at the feet of the Melbourne Knights and making sure that they know they're in for a big 15 minutes. Just haven't seen enough yet.
Well, it looks like they've got maybe a couple of players getting the bib off and receiving some instructions, the Lions. Already brought Sean Carlos on. Long ball forward, Phelps intercepts before we get in behind him for Aussie. So Brindle South on the right, he's attempted ball in, it's charged down by Morton, and then Wiseman, did he keep it in? No, he did not. So corner coming. Time for another party in the 6-yard box for all the players.
Time to load the 6-yard box and make sure Jacob Wiseman knows that his night's not going to be an easy one. Seem to have gone away from it. Commentator's curse.
Change in strategy. Always delivered to the top of the 6-yard box, but I think that was Collins with the defensive header. It was. Nani, the Brindle South. High looping ball forward. So I didn't know much about that defensive effort, but the bounce favoured him. I think he's turned it straight over. Space potentially out here for Carlos on the right, if he can be found by South. He can. Bounce favours Aussie. There's 3 Knights defenders in the vicinity. And he's the third of them. White that comes up with it. Chested down by Brindle South. Carlos to Aussie. Looking for the cutback perhaps. Aussie on the ground. Cleared away.
I'm thinking there from Aussie, why not just take it on your left foot? You've done the great work. Cut inside, great feet from a big boy. Take a shot, back yourself.
Jared. The extended period of possession for the Lions appears to be coming to an end. Nepomuceno trying to get the ball over the back. It is for Albano. Gian Albano, he's got one. Does he have two? He does. Gian Albano sends Melbourne Knights through to the round of 16 of the Australia Cup, 4-1. Melbourne Knights will continue on the national stages.
Game, set, and match, Joey Lynch. That is the final nail in the coffin of the Lions FC. And it's that man again. Substitution, Nepomuceno setting up the main man, Gian Albano, and he does the rest. Still a lot of work to do. Takes it beautifully. Puts his side 4-1 in front, and with a ticket to the next round, Melbourne Knights. Watch out.
We're seeing a host of changes now happening for both sides. I can see Giselle coming off. I think I saw the board go off indicating that Pengelly's coming off as well. Yep. He's making way. Aussie, we can see on our screens, has come off as well. So changes in the front line for Lions. Rio Ono has come on for Lions FC. Novak Klajic has come on as well, the youngster for Lions. So youthful exuberance, as we can now just see tensions bubbling over here. The game's really, well, it's dead and buried at this point, and perhaps frustration from Lions coming from all sides.
And here we go. Fight night in Sunshine West.
I mean, you can see Albano involved, Roseman involved. And this would make headlines if somebody went down or something.
We always wonder why you find players running in and causing problems. Sounds silly to me. Why would anyone do such a thing? There's a shirt ripped. Oh. Steve White's shirt's ripped.
Well, Gemmo, surely you never got involved in any biff back in the day?
None at all, Joey. Just I said, perplexed as to why people want to run in from left, right and centre and get under the skin of the opposition players, but change a shirt, this crowd going wild.
It's a chilly night. I'd be annoyed if I lost my shirt. You can just see on the replay, just really, it was all Knights immediately. Lions players coming in to fly the flag, I think is the term.
As a player, I was always getting involved in stuff like that, but now sitting on the side, I think, what are they doing? Isn't it funny, huh? When you're always on the other side of the fence.
Yeah, transitioning to coaching, like you're thinking, what if you get a red card? What if you're suspended for the next game?
I can only tell any of the players that I coach that if you're running in, you better make it worthwhile and at least say something that's going to put someone off their game, that's for sure. If you get your shirt ripped, well, you can pay that out of your own pocket because you've started it.
I mean, do you ever get involved in it? Do you have a memory of any particularly notable all-ins that you were involved in?
I've had many, Joey. None that resulted in my shirt or anyone else's shirt getting ripped, but it was always a good price at myself getting in a verbal. It was always fun. It was always good fun.
As Albano loses the ball there, well, I get Lions FC, they wouldn't want to lose anybody anyway because they've got some big games in the NPL Queensland coming up. They're right in the mix for the top 4 position. They're only, I think it's 5 points back of seconds, but still right in the mix for finals football, one way or the other, with 3 weeks of the season to go. And well, they've got Gold Coast Knights, top of the table Gold Coast Knights on the weekend.
You wouldn't want to turn your season into a disaster just after the one bad result. It's key that they do keep their heads, although they'll be frustrated with the result. The bigger picture being the domestic, their local league. So cool heads will have to prevail here, so they stay on track in their league.
As the Knights look to shift around, they're also going to be back in action this weekend as well. They've got the Dandenong Thunder on Sunday afternoon, penultimate round of the NPL Victoria season, although the Knights can, well, they're still going to be competing for a home final, but they can perhaps rest a little easier knowing that they've already locked up finals football for the first time since, I think it's 2015 here in Victoria.
Well, they've earned the right to see fit how they want to move forward with the league prior to the finals, and now with another added game in the cup, I want to make sure that their players are in good nick prior to the business end of the season with finals and obviously the next round of the cup. So a bit of thinking for Ben Kahn to do, but something that's a good problem for him to have because he's winning games and going in the right direction with his team.
One has to imagine that that's what both Melbourne Knights and Ben Kahn envisioned when he was making the move down from Queensland. Not an easy decision for any coach, relocating down to Victoria from sunny Queensland, but a club like the Knights, knowing the sort of platform that just a legendary club of Australian football can give you, and the Australia Cup and the NPL Victoria, one of the biggest leagues outside of the A-League that we have in this country.
And that's how he's probably seen it, Joey, that the NPL Victoria has the platform for him to possibly move into the A-League scene, and making the move from Brisbane would have been a big decision for him, but it's clear that he has an ambition to go further in his coaching career, and by coming to the Melbourne Knights and then putting faith in him, I'm sure having a good cup run would have been at the top of the list on his agenda.
And Fletcher McDonald comes onto the pitch, another late substitution.
It's just clear, not just for players, but also for coaches, that this competition can have a real positive effect on the career of a coach, and not just to rule it out for coaches. Definitely something Ben Kahn will hopefully have a big future in the game here in Australia.
As you mentioned, Scotty has been earmarked as a potential A-League coach in waiting for a while. Run through the national stages of the Cup would certainly help with that. We have seen a few NPL coaches making the jump up in recent years. Warren Moon, notably, of course, after his work with Lions FC. Marco Rudan, another that coached in the NPL New South Wales before making the jump up with Wellington Phoenix. Like the Pappas as well, who had some time with the Jets. Now Albano, well, he's on a hat-trick. If he makes it 2 hat-tricks in 2 games, certainly send a warning shot to the rest of the league and any round of 16 opponent.
Certainly send a warning to the owner of Melbourne Knights that he wants a pay rise. 2 hat-tricks in 2 games. Not the first place I'd be going knocking. It's not the social club, that's for sure.
He is West Australian in Perth Glory, looking at really a bit of a rebuild there out west under Alan Stajic, recently announced as their coach after leading the Philippines to a first ever Women's World Cup win.
It's really good having Stajic and Arate coming back to the A-League. 2 Western Sydney boys who I've come up against but have known for a while, so it's good to see them back in our game and hopefully do a good job for Perth Glory.
There's that ball from Rio on. I wanted to just sneak it through to Carlos, didn't come off. As it looks like the Knights will be making one further substitution here in the, well, 2 changes in the 88th minute. A couple of victory cigars coming onto the pitch for Ben Kahn.
A chance to showcase the depth in his squad and give some players some minutes.
Looks like maybe 3 changes as the Lions cunt it back. Flicked clear, Carlos competes for it. Still alive, Tyson's come up and he's going to blast just over the bar. Taking a touch in the end, Lions not going quietly into the night.
The big fella there, some nifty feet, does well enough to try and force a bit of space to get a shot on. Makes good use of it, and we find ourselves with a corner. And surely not, Joey. Surely not. With probably 2 minutes of normal time and maybe 4 to 5. Surely there's not 3 goals in this for the Lions.
Well, the magic of the cup is a phrase for a reason, perhaps, as Wiseman tried to claim. And he got collected, I think, but good enough to keep the Lions, who got the last touch, from putting the ball into the back of the net. Meanwhile, here come the changes. So, trying to go through them all. We've got Kieran Bramwell, who's going to be coming on, as is Anton Kananda, the Swede, mid-season signing. Anton Kananda, who wears 47. I'll let the viewers figure out why he does that. And Trevor Samakula coming on as well. Meanwhile, for Lions FC, looks like Dominic Horwood will be coming on, making a late appearance. So the changes well and truly run from both sides. Ivan Franjic, the skipper, has put in an excellent shift out there on the flank, gets a early rest.
He's been good tonight, the skipper. Wouldn't expect anything less from a Socceroo and someone who's played all over the world. Still putting in good shifts at probably the ripe age of 35, 36, if I'm not mistaken. So
there's the Lions trying to bring it down, and well, it was ricocheting around there. Who knows where it was off to? It's going to end up as a corner. And again, Lions getting those numbers forward as we are here on the electronic scoreboard at Knights Stadium, about to hit 90 minutes of regulation. Flicked on, but flicked out. There's Adam Bavkar preparing to announce that there will just be 2 minutes of added time here at the end of the contest. So, well, it would take an absolute massive miracle at this point, I imagine.
it's game done now, Joey. I think the next decision the Lions boys have to make is if they're heading out on a Wednesday night in Melbourne or staying in, because there's certainly no chance of them claiming this game. Melbourne Knights have been fantastic, and that substitution of Nepomuceno has really made sure of the result for them. It's been fantastic since coming on. Shown his class with his lovely left foot, and has really caused problems for Lions FC in the second half.
I mean, Scott, you've seen a number of these NPL teams go on magic of the cup runs as Kananda comes forward for the Knights. Do you think, from what you've seen tonight, does this Melbourne Knights side have the necessary ingredients to do similar?
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. You see it every year. There's an NPL team making a run and you know, on the way causing an upset or two, but there's no doubt that this team and the way they play football, there's enough in it for them to cause an upset, and the fact that they get to play at home is always good. I'm sure they would have liked a larger crowd tonight, so you know, with the next round, hopefully the Melbourne Knights fans come in numbers and really help their team, and they'll be hoping for a big clash.
Phelps now was really just, it's all eyes on Sean Evans at this point, when he's decided he's seen enough. Check of the watch as Collins just plays it across to Phelps. A few suggestive whistles from the stands. Knight supporters letting sure they know what they want. And there it is. He adds the most important whistle to it, 3 blasts of it, and it is 3 blasts that will send Melbourne Knights through to the round of 16 of this Australia Cup for the first time since 2016. For the first time in their history on this stage, Lions are eliminated in the round of 32 and eliminated by a non-A-League men's side. Well, they got back to 1-1 at one point, Scott, but Melbourne Knights just too much class kicked away, and they couldn't allow Lions back into it. Gian Albano with the first, answered by Pengelly, Sumayoro, but then answering back once again was Mitch Hoare and Gian Albano with his brace.
Definitely worth the victory tonight, Melbourne Knights. A dominant performance, although there was definitely times Lions FC had their chances. Convincing win in the end for Melbourne Knights, and confidence to go into the next round. As
you can see there, it was Albano that opened the scoring, just as he is wont to do, cutting inside onto that left foot and just blasting an effort into the top corner. Breen in the end didn't even have a chance to dive. Well placed as it was. West Australian. And the Lions did answer. Aussie, who As you talked about, Scott, was perhaps their best avenue to goal as he just turned the shoulder and set up Pengelly. That battle with Phelps all night.
Yeah, the pace and power of Aussie was a threat for Melbourne Knights, but unfortunately the Lions couldn't get enough ball to him in those spaces for him allowed to do that more often.
Of course, but that parity, that equilibrium that we were talking about lasted less than 60 seconds really, as Franjic getting up and putting a perfect real cross in the end. You have to be really good with your delivery to find Mohamed Samayor at the back post, and well, he rewarded his skipper with a well-placed header.
It was constant through the night. Melbourne Knights were finding a lot of space outside the compact shape of Lions FC, and Ivan Franjic doing what he's done for a number of years here in Australia. It's a lovely ball in.
And then, well, they started adding on to it in the second stanza. Navarro Nepomuceno finding Samayor at the back post. He squares it and Mitch Hoare turns it. And you were talking, Scott, about that Nepomuceno sub really helped the Knights ice this game.
It's a great substitution to have when you can bring on an international, regardless if it's a so-called a minnow nation, but changed the game in the second half in the sense of really hammering home and getting the victory for his team.
Indeed, it was the Curaçaoan international that then set it up for Albano to put the cherry on the sundae, as it were, and make it 4-1. I mean, he came a cropper at the end of it. He was cramping up badly, so he couldn't celebrate it, but when he goes back to watch the replay of this game, Gian Albano will take heart from his good performance. And you can see that, well, we talked at half-time, Scott, it was Lions leading the XG count at the half-time break. The Knights kicked away in the second half and really having the edge in most of the stats. More possession, equal shots, better XG. And, well, actually, does that surprise you, Lions with more touches in the opposition box?
It does a little bit, but, I mean, I think the result's the right result. In the second half, the Lions didn't probably do enough to try and get themselves back in the game, which is quite surprising with the two big boys up front. But the possession stats, in favour of Melbourne Knights, who were looking to try and get the ball down as much as possible and advance the ball through the thirds.
And you can see there the Knights unveiling the banner for the photos. You can see Mark Avellino in there, Victorian photographer, well known throughout the traps, taking the shots as the Melbourne Knights advancing through to the round of 16 of the Australia Cup after a 4-1 win over Lions FC. My name has been Joey Lynch. It's been my absolute pleasure to be joined on the call by Scott Jamieson tonight for what is possibly the best competition in Australian football, the Australia Cup. Thank you for joining us here on 10 Play.